Alright, so this is Math Lesson 3 on Nearpod, and I'm going to have my student join right now. Alright, so this particular lesson I have had it start off with a field trip feature, and this particular field trip feature shows the Golden Gate Bridge at San Francisco. I thought that this would be a good way for students, if they're coming in from recess or from lunch, I thought it would be a good way for students to be able to wind down a little bit and see something really cool. And the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco in general is actually going to be relevant for later in the lesson. So like I said, this is Math Lesson 2, and our objective is to add 2-digit plus 1-digit numbers together with renaming using tally marks. I'm going to hide student names. And this is my first open-ended question, so my student is going to answer, what is renaming? And so this open-ended question in particular is to assess understanding of what we learned in Math Lesson 1. And in a second I will be able to see my student's answer. Taking 10 ones and replacing them with 1 10. So that's correct, so I know that we can move on with this lesson. So our example problem, this is where that field trip with the Golden Gate Bridge becomes relevant. I grew up near San Francisco. Yesterday in San Francisco, the low temperature was 47. Throughout the day, the temperature increased by 8 degrees. What was the high temperature in San Francisco yesterday? So there are certain steps that we need to follow to solve this problem. First, we read the problem. Second, we show our first number using pictures or tally marks. Then we show the second number using pictures or tally marks. Then we rename the tens by circling 10 ones. Then we count the pictures to find the sum. Last, we say the problem and answer. So we say the problem, that's our first step. 47 plus 8 equals. And this next slide has a video, so I'm going to have it be viewable for all devices. That way my student can see it as well.
The second step is that you show the first number using tally marks. So 47 has 4 tens, so I'm going to write 4 big tally marks. And it has 7 ones, so I'm going to write 7 little tally marks.
Good. Now the next step is that we show the second number in the same way. So 8 does not have any tens, but it has 8 ones, so I drew 8 small tally marks to represent the second number, 8. The next thing that we do is we rename 10 ones. So here in this first picture I have circled 10 ones. And in that second picture, I've erased those 10 ones, and I've added a 10. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tens, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones. That's our next step. We count the tallies to find the sum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tens, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones. Then we say the problem and answer together. That's our last step. So we say 47 plus 8 equals 55. Now we're going to do the draw it activity. This allows me to assess whether my students can actually show the steps of solving the problem that I just told them. So in this case, the problem is 34 plus 9. So my student just submitted her drawing, and I can see it here. So I see that she's written 34 plus 9. She's represented both numbers with tally marks. She's crossed out 10 ones to rename them, and then she's written the answer at the bottom here. Alright, this next one is a quiz, and I have the steps up here in a picture so that the student can see and refer back to those steps. And now I can see that my student has gotten the correct answer. So that means that the student understands and that I can move on to the next lesson the next day. But just to make sure, I have added a poll that will allow the student to share how they feel about how well they know that concept. So this student said that they understand the concept well, so if they have the steps in front of them, they can do this. So that means that we would probably want to have more practice on this lesson before we go to the next lesson.